am your host, Sarah Sorniak. I'm helping prepare you for your next journey and empower you to take it on. Whether you're searching for a job or facing a roadblock which led you to a detour in life, we're sharing stories that will help you put your best foot forward. Freelance and co-working space is the future. That's what we're talking about today with my guest, Rachelle, who is the founder of Convergence Coworking and executive director for Freelance Buffalo and Beyond. Marie is a marketer by trade, community leader by nature, and advocate by passion. She's a proud mama of two and is currently based in Hamburg, New York. When she's not working on her business, you can find her traveling to new cities or playing saxophone in her hometown jazz band. I'm excited for this episode. This is a great opportunity for freelancers, whether you've been freelancing or you're brand new, just getting ready to dip the toes in the waters, to learn about Freelance Buffalo and Beyond. The event is coming up in April, the 20th through the 22nd. It's a great initiative, great opportunity to network with other freelancers and also learn a little bit about the field if you don't have a lot of knowledge. And also great opportunity to learn about co-working spaces and what they are. A lot of us have been working remotely since the pandemic started. And this is a great opportunity to kind of get outside the home and also network with others who are sharing the space and get a great view of Lake Erie. That's where Convergence Coworking is located in Hamburg. I hope you enjoy the show. It was a blast chatting with Marie. All right, so Marie, thank you again for doing the show. Really appreciate your time. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, I'm a freelance marketer by trade. I've been freelancing since 2014, and all of that kind of snowballed into what I am today. So I'm super grateful for that. Starting in freelancing and then realizing where are my people? I started to kind of gather them just hand by hand, over the course of the years. And then as I matured, I mean, that was in my early 20s. So as I matured and started being a more adult version of the girl on the playground who's like, you want to be my friend? Do you want to be my friend? And like having the birthday parties where I invite everyone from all the cliques and they're like, we don't know each other. I'm like, well, you do now. That kind of blossomed into some other things that came to fruition as far as allowing me to become a community leader and a community builder. And then obviously I was just in that freelance space, so it made sense to do that. And then from the community, I had the opportunity to open the co-working space. But even before that, so Freelance Buffalo and Beyond, we've been hosting Western New York's flagship freelance event for this will be our 5th year. So it's like a really big deal. And we were just on AM Buffalo recently talking about it as well. So it's really starting to hit me that I've been doing this for so long. And I actually was reflecting when I was getting ready for this call, thinking, wow, like I'm really like owning it. I'm starting to step into the light because a lot of times it's, people praising or complimenting me. And I'm like, I'm just being me, like who I am, kind of, practicing being humble. And I'm like, you know what, though? It wouldn't be happening if I wasn't doing it. I mean, there are people who are also doing this work, but my piece is very important. So I'm just beginning to step into that. So for anyone who's like, I haven't found my thing, or I haven't stepped into the light yet, or any of those things, it's taken me 10 years. So it's not a quick process.
Well, it's that old saying that the patience is a virtue. And sometimes like it can just, if you don't know your purpose yet, you might stumble upon it. You know what I mean? Like you just might walk into it and then things take off and all that. But and we can get towards the end of the episode, we'll talk about ways folks can connect with you, but you give a lot of great resources as well and advice for freelancers. Like I just recently saw you post about that age old, like, what am I going to charge for my services?
I get asked that question a lot. They're like, how do I start or like, how do I charge, or what are my rates? And I was just like, you know what? I think I can boil this down to like 15 seconds, at least for, a starting point.
Sure.
And again, it's not again, we said this earlier offline, but it's all become so canned. I'm so used to saying it. I've said it over and over, but now that my platform is getting larger, I have to realize it's not something that other people have maybe heard before. So I just need to keep saying it.
I know when I ventured into freelance, I want to say maybe it was before the pandemic, so 2019. And I just remember thinking too, it's like, okay, so how do you set that? You know what I mean? And then sometimes when you're thinking like the math equation that you had given in your post about like salary, moving the decimal over, like if you're 90,000 a year, try charging like $90 for an hour, right? Per
Yep.
hour.
Yeah, you
And
got it.
and then you're just thinking to yourself, because like that was my thought process too. And you're just like, oh my God, is that too much? Is that too much? But it's not.
Absolutely, probably never too much. And if
No.
anything, you should like multiply it.
I know. I don't know why. It's like people get so afraid initially when they're dipping their toes in the freelance world they're afraid to charge too much. And it's really, you shouldn't be, because when you think about what it would cost that person to have an in-house salaried employee,
Yeah, of course.
you know,
I always dip into the value-based pricing. Of course, that's like a little more in depth, but value-based pricing is a huge deal. And there's a lot to be said about that. There's a lot to be said about different industries and like what you do. You know, a photographer is going to be different
right.
than a strategic marketing consultant, you know, just with the rounds of revisions and those kinds of things. Um, but yeah, thank you for watching that. I appreciate it. I
Yeah.
just committed to myself that I would start making reels every day. Excuse me, I committed actually to the legendary Jamie Brindle. I don't know if you follow him, but I had the opportunity to, I've been working with him for a couple of years just through some community work I've done with other freelancing communities. And I had the opportunity to meet with him in LA a few weeks ago. And I said to him, I said, this is it. Like, I promise, I'm making a commitment to you that, you know, I will be making reels every single day. I said, I will do my best to kind of keep a content, you know, calendar within myself. And there's some surprises we've got coming in the fall with Freelance Buffalo and Beyond that we'll announce later. But it really it leads into that. So hold me accountable to that, please. And anyone that listens to this, if I missed a reel a day, feel free to call me out.
Well, and you know what though? I think the timing of where you're at with um like you said, kind of like owning and making content for this, especially for those that might not know the knowledge yet as they're getting into freelance work. I think the current shift, the way the economy's been kind of panning out, I think you're seeing a lot, at least I'm seeing it on LinkedIn. I don't know about you, where you're seeing a lot of corporate companies starting to lay off, and a lot of
Yes,
marketers
absolutely.
are,
Yeah.
unfortunately losing jobs. So the
I've
freelance,
said it many, many times that my freelance work has been the most reliable job I've ever had. And
yeah,
I bet that that holds true for a lot of people. You can do it full time, you can do it like not even part time, you can do it per diem, like however you want to do freelance,
right.
you can do it. And I think it's important to say, you know, freelance is I still call it, you know, like a, what's the word? Like a buzzword, right? Freelance, gig economy, all those things, but you're an independent contractor, you're a solopreneur, whatever you want to call it. Um, I always say, you know, if you work for yourself, by yourself, for a specific purpose, or, you know, freelance buffalo is for you, you know, and really ultimately it applies to a lot of, you know, small business owners and even creatives that work at agency or have full-time jobs. Like the concepts of what we do and how we do things still applies. And I'm a little biased, but like I think we have the best people to surround ourselves with. So no matter what you do, like you'll get something out of it.
Well, and I think our marketing community in Buffalo is pretty tight knit. In
Yeah.
some capacity, if we don't know each other personally, we know of each other, and I think a lot of us like to help each other out. And again, like the freelance thing, if you do it on the side and you have a full-time gig, what a safety net. If something does
Mm-hmm.
happen,
Yep.
and
It's
and all
nice
that.
to have that. They say seven streams of income. I mean, for at least for the millennials or the, you know, whoever else is
Right.
listening, the millennials and the Gen Zs, I mean, we don't trust anyone when it comes to what we're giving handed or
Isn't that
yeah,
the
getting
truth?
handed. Yeah, it's so true.
My gosh, yeah, nail on the head there.
Oh,
So you've been freelancing for some time, and you've also entered into the advocacy for freelancers as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
yeah, so I also recently, I mean, I've been doing a lot of advocacy work over the last couple of years, but I kind of fell into it again, just being in that space and working. And the main reason that Freelance Buffalo and Beyond's theme this year is freelance isn't free is because of the freelance isn't free law that we're working on having passed in the state of New York. It was passed by well, with Raphael Espinal at the head. of the Freelancers Union passed in the 5 boroughs of New York City a couple of years ago, I believe. And I wanted to work with him on getting it passed in Buffalo, but then I said, well, why stop there? Like, let's just go for New York. And then I started just kind of getting involved with that. And then I realized that, and as you've seen too, like during the course of the last few years or so, as freelance and those kinds of things are becoming more popular, people are starting to understand it more and become more interested by it. There's a lot of content creators and information and resources out there for people who want to get started, who don't know like where to start. And of course, we're always going to be that. But me specifically, as a legacy freelancer, I like to call it, the people who've kind of been doing this for a while. Our job is to not only support and you know mentor these new freelancers, but also to help legislatively create a safe place for our businesses to succeed. It doesn't matter how automated we are or how great our content calendar is and how dedicated we are to our craft and our work if our business model isn't supported by legislation. And if so the Freelance Isn't Free Act or law, for anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's essentially a law that protects freelancers from non-payment. So I'm sure many of freelancers can relate that clients have paid late or not paid at all or paid the retainer and then ghosted them or whatever. And that law, it provides resources to avoid those situations and scenarios, and also an actual legal reprimand for people who are kind of like ditching us. Like it doesn't happen in any other business. You don't get your tires changed and go, well, I'm just like not going to pay you. You don't get your car back. Like, and that's just one example, but I just think it's really, I've taken it upon myself to take it my duty to not only lead the freelance way, but also create like, I love business, and I actually in another life would have been a lawyer. I digress. But I love being able to connect and impact people on that more serious level that may not interest all the other freelancers, but they need to know what's going on, right? So I've taken it upon myself to kind of take that place and drive those things forward, in addition to the Freelancers Union, the work that they're doing and things. But that's where I think I found my little pocket of purpose.
That's so important too, because I think a lot of freelancers who might either just be getting started, might not know the laws, and knowing to make sure that they have an agreement before they are starting work.
Yes.
And the best ways to go about getting that type of agreement. I know a lot of people might get disheartened, like, oh, do I have to see an attorney to do X, Y, and Z? But again, that's like our community. I'm sure all of us have resources that can help those newbies out, I guess, with
Yeah.
anything that we've used. I think you mentioned that in a previous podcast I watched too, that it's always worth these like networking events, especially with what you're doing with Freelance Buffalo, to kind of connect that resource is really great.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I've just started hearing from people, oh, I watched this podcast, or I heard you talk about this there, and I'm like, wow, people are like watching my things. So I think we touched on it a little bit earlier, and I kind of stay away from the term imposter syndrome, but it's true. We all kind of have that feeling of like, what am I doing here? Why am I doing this? Or, why me, kind of thing. But once you really start to own that, it's life changing. So thank you for listening. It means the world to me. Like, I've been traveling to see other freelance leaders for a while now, and now people are traveling to Buffalo to see me. So it means a lot. A lot. I'm actually gonna make myself cry. That's weird.
Well
But
deserved.
it does. It means the world.
Anytime, it's well deserved. So the Freelance Buffalo and Beyond will be taking place April 20th through the 22nd. So what can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about the event, maybe for those who haven't been, that might be interested in taking a check out this year?
Absolutely, yeah. So come one, come all, freelancers unite. Like, it's the whole thing, right? So originally we were a 5-day event, and we realized just over the years and the course of what we've experienced, we're like, let's just do this a little bit more concise. So we decided to shorten it to 3 days. But with that, we are adding a gala and like an award ceremony in the fall. So you're
Nice.
one of the first to hear that. It'll be really great to kind of separate that piece and be able to focus more on that, because of course, as you know, as a lot of people know, like, hosting events is hard. It doesn't matter if it's a baby shower, birthday party, but like an event is a big undertaking. And gratefully, our entire conference is volunteer run. So our speakers are volunteer, our entire team, anyone who helps, bring it together is all volunteer. Much of our space that we provide the event in is given in kind, if not all. So we're really grateful for that. And then, of course, we are looking for sponsorship and people that want to reach freelancers or support them. So that's a big piece of it, because that allows us to provide those resources and maybe fly in someone that's astronomically known, like a Christo, fly him in from LA to come and talk to us. Like that would be a really big deal. And I think that people really understand that. But yeah, so we're putting together the schedule right now. I'm presuming that by the time that this airs and by the time people are listening to this, that the schedule will be done. So get your pre-sale before, and then as soon as we announce the schedule, like the pre-sale will end. It's kind of like a, oh, get in, trust us kind of thing. Um, our lineup is incredible. We have Raphael from the Freelancers Union coming in from New York again. We have the founder of the Kansas City Freelance Exchange coming in. We have a couple people coming in from like Austin. I'm trying to get a couple more people to come in from like Portland, another one from New York. And then we actually have a fellow freelancer who's coming in from New Jersey. So it's, like I said, it's really very, very cool to see people come into town for not just me, but when I reflect, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. But for us, because they do recognize that there is a freelance community in Buffalo. And the last thing I'll say before I stop this rambling is, I was asked when I first started this conference, are there freelancers in Buffalo? Like, what are your numbers going to look like? And I said, I don't know if there's freelancers here. We're going to find out. And it turns out there's like thousands, not thousands, like hundreds of us, hopefully thousands that I just haven't discovered yet. But along those hundreds that are involved, we're actually inspiring and encouraging others to become freelancers. So it's not that they're not freelancers at all. They're just not freelancers yet.
Starting a movement. I love it. So the event like the first event was in 2019.
Yes. Yep. And I think it's worth mentioning, we used to be a part of a national organization who hosted freelance events in each city, but I realized that there was a very specific need here in Buffalo. As anyone that's from here knows, we're very different. We are a tad bit traditional, so we might be a little behind, the Miamis of the world. But I really, in the last few years, at least in our space, we've come a long way and become more cognizant of like what's freelancing, what's co-working, what's community building, those things. And it's been refreshing and relieving for me, honestly, that when I say it, not everyone is like, oh, what is that? Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. They're like, oh yeah, that's trending. That's really cool. The work you do is great. Or, I'd like to learn more about that. I read an article recently and those kinds of things.
Speaking of co-working, you're also running Convergence Co-working, which is located on the waterfront in Lake Erie, right
Yes.
here in good old Hamburg, New York.
Yeah,
So
your hometown. I love that. I love that so much. That makes me so happy.
yeah, born and raised in the village, I'm living by the lake now. I love the water. So it's definitely a great space. Anyone that's like even seen photos of your space on social or anything, you've got quite a view, quite a
We
backyard.
do. I mean, in the winter it's a little tougher, but it's nice because when it's warm inside. But yes, in the summer we are very much so like right on the lake. Like we have our backyard, and then there's a two-story break wall, and then there's water. On a good day, if you feel adventurous enough to climb down, I mean, you can take a dip. Like I won't stop you, but at your own risk. Um, Yeah, so the co-working space is wonderful. Like I said, it's an accumulation, a physical accumulation of all the work that I've been doing, and I'm incredibly grateful to have it. So anyone who listens in, your first co-working day is on me. Come say hello.
Listen to that. So speaking for those who may not know, which I think I don't want to be rude. I hope people will probably be living in a bubble if they don't know what co-working space is, but there are people that don't know.
Oh, there's quite a few, but it's okay.
There's a few. So do you mind sharing what is a co-working space?
So I like to describe it as a gym for office people. I've been using that lately. It's it's an open space. There are different areas of the space, of course, but ultimately it's an open space where people can book. You can book a day, you can become a member and come in pretty much whenever you want, to just come in. Anyone who, I know a lot of people have home offices, but if you want to get out of the house, or if you're being overwhelmed by laundry and are just like, I don't want to deal with this today, just and be like, oh, I want to go hang out on the lake instead and be productive, come see me. And also those people that and I'm an advocate for coffee shops. I love the vibe. I love going in and doing like my deep work there because I like the hustle and bustle. But sometimes, you have a day of calls or a day of recording podcasts and you're like, or a day of recording reels, whatever it is you want to do, that you just kind of need to focus. You can come in and just take a seat and get some stuff done. It's purposefully created, kind of like an open house, when you go to a showing or whatever, like it's pretty minimal because I want you to feel like you can come and just get things done, and you're surrounded. And then the plus side is that you're surrounded by other people that feel the same way. We have headphone etiquette and those things, but some days I've got people who come in and are just like, well, I'm just going to come in and do my emails. I have a pretty light day. And like, whoever comes in today, like, I'll just network with them and get to know them and see how I can do some more work maybe in the South towns if they're not from here. But co-working spaces are trending all over the world. But I did just read an article about how they're starting to trend in suburban areas. And I was like, well, I was there about 18 months ago. And as you said earlier, patience is a virtue. It's also very difficult to be ahead of the curve sometimes.
Because
But
you
it's
just don't know if you're like, am I on the right track?
right, yeah. And then I see these articles and I'm like, all right, like we're on the cusp. It's coming. It's coming. We just have to be so incredibly
Well,
patient, and that can be tiring.
I'm glad you brought it to the South towns because like I am, like I said, born and bred in the South towns. I call North Town people, but I call them the North Towns outer space because it's just like for us shoot up there is pretty, it takes us some time. There's great
I
things.
know. I have a hard time going up there and not being like, oh, I need to open a space here too. But one thing at a time.
One thing at a time. It'd be great. there's definitely I will give props to the North Towns. I don't mean to like be slamming on
Well,
them.
there's been a thing for that like my entire life. I grew up near Ellicottville, so it's just one of those things. A lot of my really great, wonderful friends are from the North Town, so we
Yeah,
love you guys.
we
It's a
love you
it's a
guys
friendly thing.
immensely. There's so much great stuff up there, but it's nice to have that opportunity that you opened up here in the South
Thank you.
Towns.
Thank you.
Especially like a lot of South Towners either do work in the North Towns or commute to the city of Buffalo.
And I actually even had people from even Lewiston, like way up there
Wow.
that are looking to reach out into this area or have a hub down here when they take that hour drive, and they're like, we don't want to stay at Spot for 4 hours or whatever. I love Spot, don't get me wrong, but like the smoothie machine and a phone call don't really go together. So that's what I created the space for, and really, you don't have to commit to anything specific. I love monthly members, but if you're just people vacation and kind of summer in, Angola and those kinds of things on the beach. I get a lot of like 10 punch pass people who like get 10 visits or whatever and they use it while they're in town and it works out really well. So thank you for allowing me to speak about that.
Absolutely. And remote work, it does have its perks, but I will tell you with the benefit of the co-working space, and I think a lot of people who are ended up full-time remote after the pandemic happened, I think as wonderful as that was and is, I think that separation of homework life
Oh
is
yeah, for
really,
sure. I mean, I love working at home. I'm at my dining table right now, but I do like to get out of the house. And some days I'm there all day and I'm like, wow, I really did go to the office and it felt nice. And we hold
yeah,
each other accountable, like you and I, if we make, when we make our co-working day, we're going to go, you're going to plan like, oh, what do I want to cover that day? We'll sit and chat for like an hour, but then it's like, okay, I'm going to be in this space and you can really prepare to be in it. It's nice.
it's great.
It
And
sounds, oh, go ahead. So sorry.
I just think it adds for a healthy balance because sometimes like you get like you're kind of like you go mad a little bit in your it's your home. You're supposed to be decompressing at home after a long day, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
great.
for sure.
Um, so the other aspect of that too is I think the ease of how people can book with you. You literally can go on your website and like go to book and that person can go in that either that day. I saw
Yeah.
some spaces which
Yeah, yeah, of course. I mean, like I like to be there the first time people come in, but I do appreciate that. I work closely with it's a company called Coello. So there's a lot of co-working space apps out there, and community organization apps out there. This one, it's newer and it's a startup. And I said, I would love to work with someone who's also scaling as I scale. So there's ebbs and flows with that. So most of the time, the booking works really well. If it doesn't work for anyone for any reason, please just send me an email. It's fine. We'll take care of it. But I do really enjoy working with them. And like I said, I initially was going to work with like a larger community app that I just wasn't ready for. It was like $300 a month. I'm like, I don't even have that many. Like, I can't, you know, it doesn't sustain itself at that level yet. So I went with this other company that I can talk to their support team. I talk to their dev team like regularly. So even if it's not perfect, it will be. And like we've kind of made it our own. And I kind of have a soft spot for that kind of relationship. So it's been working for me. But like I said, if anyone ever has any trouble, just send me an email. We'll get it figured out.
So do you mind, how many desk spaces do you have that are available? I saw that you have a podcast studio in there, conference room.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, thank you. So yes, the open co-working area. And I don't want to scare anyone because statistically, 10% of members are in a space at any given time, right? So we have about anywhere from like 5 to 8 seats in our open co-working area. So, my max is about 50 members if and when I get to that point. Um, so, we have a handful of seats every single day, which again, ebbs and flows. And that's what the booking software is for, to help me kind of keep that in check. But I do have 2 dedicated desks. One is available. So like if you're like someone that's like, nope, I like my space. I want to come in and have my stuff all around me. Like I want it to be there and be mine. I do have one of those dedicated desks available. And I do have a rentable private office. We've moved the space around a little bit, which is exactly what I said it would be, is what the members need. We have a massage therapist who rented one of the rooms upstairs, so that's awesome. We have an in-house masseuse, like, okay, twist my arm. But then the private office, I've had the opportunity to rent it full time, but again, most of the space is open, so I made this decision to leave this private office as a rentable amenity, just because you may not always want to be upstairs and alone in this office, right? But if you have maybe a day full of interviews or a day full of meeting with clients and you want to utilize the space, it's a private office attached to like a little sitting lounge area that's a work in progress, but it works. So you can kind of rent that out for the day. Say if you own a cleaning company and you want to do interviews one day a week, or open interviews or whatever, and people can kind of come in and do that. And you're right, I have a DIY audio recording podcast studio. It's not quite big enough for the cameras, I realize, so I want to be very specific and say for audio, it's fine for this, like your computer and whatnot, but we have a hard time fitting cameras and lights and all those things in there. But that was built by the Hurdle Sound Lab, which is pretty cool. Also collaborating with another local business. So grateful to be able to collaborate in every aspect of that space, because that's what convergence means, right? Two things coming together.
Beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. So what was the history of the space coming to be? You opened in 2020 and then the ribbon cutting was 2022?
Yeah, so like I said, long road. We closed on the building about the time everybody else closed down, so that was fun. Uh, the challenges of being an entrepreneur, honestly, are very real. But that didn't stop me. I started growing a community online, kind of branching from the already freelance community that I had, and then just starting to bring people in. Everything you see in the space, I've either done myself or paid for myself. To this point at least, and that's also a huge undertaking. For anyone who doesn't know, like I'm a single mom with 2 kids. Like it's not like I don't have it's not like I don't have like other things, or like I have all this money just chilling lying around. I worked I don't know if I could say ass, but I would say I worked my ass off to like get it to where it is. So it really is like my true extension of my own home. So I'm really proud of it. And a lot of people that come to the space kind of they like that vibe, which is nice. It sets itself apart from other spaces that we have, which are amazing, but sometimes you like to have that just like chill lakeside atmosphere, but like being productive.
Oh, absolutely. And there's just something about the water too. If anyone's like that type of personality, I know I am, where like, the water kind of just chills you out. And also, if you're a creative person, kind of gives you a bit of inspiration boost.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's more the people than anything.
Well, that too is that networking. And you have a lot of networking events too that typically run through, right? You do?
Yeah, so in addition to Freelance Buffalo, I like to host events at the space, of course. So we try to do at least one event a month. We have 3 events this coming month, but we try to do something once a month. We're also working on something really fun that I'm not ready to announce yet, but I will tell you personally as soon as it's ready. That I want more people in the space, and I want to give them. And I also, it's not just about me. Yes, I'm being selfish saying, yeah, I want people there. But it's the space, right? And we have it to utilize. So I want to use it and have it be a resource and a platform for creatives, not only doing freelance work, but also, we can clear out that open co-working side and host basically any kind of event that you want to host. So there's also a call for that. If someone's looking for a space to do something they've always wanted to do, and not quite found the home for that yet, like we're a really good place for that. And we have a restaurant 2 doors over, so drinks and food are very close by.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, even going down a ways, there's a lot of great restaurants in that area.
Yep.
So if anyone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
Instagram always works. So there's a lot of different ways, but for the purpose of this conversation, Freelance Buffalo and Beyond is on Instagram. Convergence Coworking is on Instagram. And if you want to email me, it's just Marie at convergencecoworking.com. So yeah, I'm sure you have show notes. We can add everything else, but we're
Definitely.
pretty reachable. If you really want to find us, you will.
Beautiful. And then anyone that's interested in attending the event, you're going to have pre-sale tickets, and then will you
Yep.
have at the
Yep.
door tickets too for anybody that might not?
Yeah, so the tickets are available now. So you can go to freelancebuffaloandbeyond.com, check out, what the event is about, grab your ticket. If you do have specific questions on like, what we're going to be covering, I'm happy to answer those. But we will have that lineup soon. And honestly, I could hold myself accountable by the time this airs, if they're listening, like to say that it's up, at least a draft version. I'll do my best. I'll try.
Sounds good. Well, thank you for your time, Marie. I
Of
appreciate it.
course. Yeah, this was great. Thank you, Sarah.